ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back. Be you Clydeside, Stateside, worldwide. Happy draft day, ladies and gentlemen. And we have an all-star panel here on AFNI to take you home into the draft. So I'm going to introduce the unfamiliar faces to you before we get back to Des and I. You've seen these gentlemen on the show before, and it's my pleasure and privilege to have them back on. To the top left there, you have the franchise nose tackle of AFN himself, Big Ant. How are you, brother? Good to have you back with us.
Doing all right and glad to be back. How y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Running on fumes, coffee, and draft hype. So it's going to be a fun night. You know, as long as I'm caffeinated, I'll be here. We got a lot of good stuff to get through. And then below him on the bottom left, host of For My ATL Sports 1. He's also going to be bringing you the second show of what's going to be a little triple header tonight. So you're going to want to keep it here, people. And we'll get into that a little later on. But he's another good friend and brother of mine. And as I say, I owe this man a show as well. So that's in the pipeline too. T-Will, my brother, how are you? Good to have you back.
I'm doing well, Will, and to the esteemed panel, thank you guys for having me. Super excited about this draft night. I know we don't have a pick man, but you know, I got this feeling, this itch at the back of my neck, like maybe we do something tonight. You know, I'm probably wrong, but it's a feeling I have. So
I'm the same, T-Will. I'm the same. I think Ian Cunningham's got something up his his sleeve, mate.
Yeah. And I feel like the guys who are Falcons fans who kind of felt some kind of way about it and went, yeah, I don't know if I'll tune in. We don't have a first round pick. It's like we don't have a first round pick right now. Right. That could all change.
Right.
Especially with some of the kind of potential trade guys that we're going to be talking about on the show as well. But we'll start off just by obviously letting some people get in. So we'll talk about the kind of the easiest little bit to get sorted first. Did you get a chance to check out the new numbers that were dropped for the new blood?
No, all I know is that Austin Hooper always has number 81 because that was the where he was picked in the draft. So it wasn't a surprise that Austin Hooper, obviously I think 2016 draft pick, number 81 took 81. So I mean, it just kind of shows you how. I mean, I know we're coming into the draft and everything, but it just kind of shows you how slow it is when we're effectively talking about numbers. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So.
The one thing I will say is that 2 has maintained number 1, so I just hope he plays like it. That's all I can say. And obviously, if you're looking for that Robinson squared connection, then you're looking for 7 plus 15. So we're looking forward to seeing that when the season comes as well. But yeah, let's get into the real meat and potatoes of the show. So you were talking about, are we going to have a first round pick? Are we not? So I mean, boys, let's get into it. And the first one, which would probably be most pressing, would be Kyle Pitts. So I'll go around, boys. I'll start with yourself, Des, because I know this was one that you wanted to get into heavy, and then I'll see what the boys are adding to that. But if you want to ship out Kyle Pitts, first of all, do you want to trade out Kyle Pitts? And second of all, if you do, what sort of package are you going to entertain to make that happen?
I mean, for me, I'm definitely wanting a first round for Kyle Pitts. I mean, when you look at it, this is year 5. Now, bearing in mind, Kyle Pitts is only 25. There's literally players in this draft just now that are similar age to Kyle Pitts, and he's done 4 years in the NFL already. And you would say, apart from injuries and everything, first rookie season was fantastic. Last year was probably his best year outside the rookie year. So when you look at all that, I guarantee you there's an offensive coordinator somewhere watching Kyle Pitts, knowing that if they had him and his team, there would be a lot more fireworks than what he's shown in the Falcons team. But we've discussed it before. when you look at that show, apart from Matt Ryan in the first year when he had his breakout, his best year, you've had a what's all sorts of quarterbacks. So you've never really had stability at the quarterback situation. We've now got another new quarterback this year, so you can't always put it on Kyle Pitts. But if I'm an OC or if I'm a head coach and I'm looking at a player at 25 that's had 4 years in the NFL, and I can get him for a first round pick for potential that's there that nobody knows is going to what they're going to do in the NFL, then I'd be snapping your hand off for that, mate. But
Okay.
if it comes back and it's like a second and a fourth, I don't think that's. We need a pick, a decent enough pick that we can bring in somebody that will be a starting quality player. I'm hoping that if we draft Kyle Pitts, we can get a D tackle or a nose tackle like higher up than what we're getting just now, which is second round. So that's where I'm looking. I think with Austin Hooper being brought in, you know what I mean? We've still got Charlie Warner. I think I would only take a draft if it's a first round. Outside that, he's too important to let go for any less than that.
I could see why you're saying that, and obviously, as you say, like having him being year 5 now and only being 25 years old, knowing the scheme in the way that he does, and to add one more caveat to that, obviously the fact that when he did have that season, that was a decline in Matt Ryan that helped him to those numbers as well, not a prime. So obviously Michael Penix can get over that threshold, then sky's the limit. And as I say, I want to pass it to the boys as well. So Ant, we'll let you take a crack at that. If you're letting Kyle roll out, what's it going to take?
It's going to have to take at least a first round pick. I mean, at least. And like Des is saying, I mean, every year his numbers has gone up every single year. So for us to bring in a coach that he specializes in honing in on the talent that tight ends have, you're going to have to wow me with what you bring to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. And as you say, something else you can throw in is a lot of people say that if we move on from Kyle, we jump straight onto a David Njoku, and Des and I were speaking about this in the back before we went. As much as I respect Njoku's game, and he certainly has a weapon. Obviously, I know places where I feel like the capital that we get in return could be better used. Maybe if you're going to go second round and change, then I would prefer it to be a team who has a serviceable D tackle, so that instead of say a second and fourth, as you suggested, Des, go, all right, nah, never mind the fourth, but give us that nice big nose you've got, and we'll take a second. There are ways that maybe you could sugar the coffee a little bit for me, but nah, I feel like you boys are right. It's got to be first round pick or bust. T-Will, how do you feel about it all? Are you of a different mind, or do you agree with us on that?
You know what? I'd love a first round pick, but I don't know that you're going to get that. I'd be okay with maybe a second, a fourth, and a couple next year. I don't know that you're going to get a first. But guys, here are my thoughts on it, right? Are we really going to sign Kyle Pitts next year? Now, I know we will have in excess of $150 million. But, Stefanski like tight ends who can block and catch. He wants the total package. He is a tight ends guy. So, if you're not going to pay him $20 million, because we know you're going to pay Bijan $35. We know, 25. We know you're going to pay Drake $35. That's a given. You still got to make a decision if you're signing Jesse, right?
Yeah.
You probably got Penix coming up in his third year, 2 years. So you really at the point. If Kyle is not really a blocker, and Kyle is basically an inline receiver or a really big receiver, you got to ask yourself, is he worth the 21 million? Right? I don't know. And there are two ways of looking at it. You can look at Kyle like a wide receiver playing tight end, in which case 21 may be cheap. Or you could look at him like a, tight end who can't block and doesn't really fit what you have. And in that case, you could trade him. So honestly, I'd take a second and a fourth. I don't think you're going to get a first for him. I don't think anybody is going to get that desperate. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't know. I'd take a second and a fourth. Those are my thoughts.
I can see what you're saying. I mean, the interesting thing to throw in there too is you're not just talking about your Bijans and your Drake Londons, but say there are a couple of bodies, even a couple out of that 22 guys that we signed who shine. You're going to want to extend them. I mean, the only guys that came in on more than a 1 year prove it were Folk and Dotson.
Yeah.
So apart from that, like get your Ojalaris, if they shine, then you're obviously going to have to pay those boys as well, and that's going to eat into the cap situation as well. So a lot of what I said is kind of to paraphrase Miss Maggie T. It's one of her go-tos. The coins need to coin just right for me to go for that, I think. And we've started getting some comments down in the chat. Good to see Mad Mike down in the chat. I'll throw you up some horns, my boy. And if you want to jump on this, let me know, and I can get one of the boys to drop the link for you. Keep the hits coming if you boys are good with that.
Well, jumping on what T-Will said, I agree what he says on the effectively Kyle Pitts is if you use him as a discounted wide receiver, if Kevin Stefanski can come in and effectively, we've always said this, the fact that people say that he hasn't done as good as potential, we assumed he was going to do, was down to the fact that we drafted him number 4. That's not on Kyle Pitts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Effectively, it was only drafted at number 4 because you looked at him as a wide receiver. You know what I mean? Yeah. Effective when he came out, his last year in Florida, the statistic was that he hadn't dropped a pass in his college football career. So effectively, it was pushed as a wide receiver. Now, if we're going to pay him next year 21 million, if you're using him as a wide receiver 2, then that's a discount on what you would pay, which is fine. But you have to take away from the fact that he is a tight end. He's not a tight end. He's literally a wide receiver. And if Kevin Stefanski can get his head around the fact that Kyle Pitts is a wide receiver 2, then we might be getting somewhere. But I would say that will be teams, and I know T-Will says, I don't think anybody will be that desperate. Are you telling me we've not seen desperate decisions made in the NFL before? You know, I mean, it's happened before. There'll be somebody out there who thinks that the tight ends in this year's draft are just not up to par. I was watching a report earlier on, and one of the NFL guys said that effectively from 1 to 20, it's all top level guys. From 21 down to 32, it's effectively these guys are second round picks in any other year. Yeah. So
that's kind of how I was feeling. I watched one of the draft prospects about one of the corners recently on my boy Mad Mike, who's just joining the show's channel, so you'll be able to corroborate this. But I feel like some of the guys fall into that mix of sort of, are you tail end first round or are you top of the second? So there's a slide from, as you say, Des, maybe around 2024 all the way down to around about 46 to 46. So it's going to be real interesting to see where that plays out. I'll pass it back over to you because we're still talking a little bit about Pitts and the trade, Michael. So if you would, my good brother, what's your thoughts and your takes on the Kyle Pitts situation? Are you trading him on? And if so, what's it going to take for you to make that move?
if I'm the Atlanta Falcons, like my philosophy is always different. Like I have a different philosophy with wide receivers and tight ends. I think when you have a running game like the Atlanta Falcons, you have a running back like Bijan Robinson. I think you can do without a top receivers because he's a special talent. Like he's the offense in his own right. And we've seen teams like Seattle. We've seen teams, Philadelphia, so many teams in the NFL have won games with the running game and solid defense, not making mistakes, the quarterback's not making mistakes. So I personally believe that you can do it without a number one receiver. So me, with that being said, I think I'm not trading Kyle Pitts. I'm trading Drake London. I'm not paying $30 million, because the price is only going up with wide receiver today. Like these guys are getting $35 million. That's not me. I'd rather just build the defense, run the dang on ball, and go from there. So I'm not
a great point, Mike. When you're talking about Drake London and how much is he actually worth? I mean, look at the market, as you say. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I may be off $1 million or $2 million here, but CD Lamb's at 38. I think Jamar Chase is at 41, which is just scandalous, but you know how Cincinnati does ball. But yeah, I mean, the wide receiver position comes at such a premium now that, yeah, as you say, if Pitts is going to show out more as a blocker, and for my money at least, and you know, Mike, boys, you know, I've said a lot that his struggles as a blocker, but I feel like he has improved over the last sort of 3-4 games of the season. With that being said, so yeah, you've given us all something else to think about. I don't know if I want to lose London, but I don't know. At the same time, I don't know if I want to pay him $35 million a year either. It's a lot of money.
Yep. This is a question we got to think about.
I think for me, I think the everybody's still got a short memory. I think a lot of people go back to what happened with Julio. You know what I mean, and the fact that I mean, probably his last contract was just ridiculous. You know what I mean, he had still a few years left his current contract, and he pushed because he wanted to be paid higher than other guys in the league. So I think for what Mike says, it's a case that we don't want to be in a position like what we were with Julio Jones. Yeah, Julio Jones was a phenom, but we don't want to be in a position where we're literally paying the top 4 or 5 players half the cap because they think they're special. I would go with what you said. Well, I still think that when you look around the league, there's very few players, and I think again when you're looking at the statistics and everything for Drake London, we still have to remember the inconsistencies with the quarterback situation that he's had to deal with. You know what I mean? We're at a point where I don't think we've really seen the best of these guys. I think in some games last year with Drake London, you seen exceptional play, but they're constantly changing. They've now got another OC, you know what I mean? So that's another new coach. So at some point, as we've said before in the show, at some point we need stability, just a bit of stability. And I don't think we'll get stability by effectively trading players. Like for me, yeah, we could trade Kyle Pitts only if the deal's right. For me, Drake London's going nowhere. We have to. I think where we went wrong with Drake London is we just left it too long. We should have signed him at the start of last year for this year, as in this is going to be that's your last year under that contract. We'll get you signed up. We'll get you set up and effectively get into get the contract done a wee bit early, because you agree, Mike. We've seen how the contracts for wide receivers this year have just blown up. You know what I mean? So effectively, that's on us. We just did not tie the contract up quick enough. And what do you think, Mike?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There we go.
Go ahead,
There you
Mike.
go.
Apologies to anyone watching or listening in the chat. The Yard do be yarding tonight. So there's been a few issues. We know T. Will's dropped off, so hopefully he can try and get back in with us. But if you do experience any drop-offs, any little issues, we do apologise. Just bear with us because there's a whole lot of content to get through, as we say. So hopefully it's just teething problems at the start and we can smooth out. So where did we get to there, lads? We were still talking about the Kyle Pitts situation. And a little bit about kind of how we feel about trades. And as I say, Mike, it was a great point to throw Drake London in the mix, because what Des had proposed and kind of threw me onto was the next big point and how we can bring this back to trades, because I hadn't even thought about the situation, because we didn't want to take it on a personal basis. We wanted to see how the law would treat it, how obviously it would affect the team going forward and things of that nature. But let's address the elephant in the room as well. I mean, when the biggest piece of probably roster news right now would be that as of today, obviously James Pearce has logged his plea. So he's been offered that 6-month course. So when you feel about timeline and things like that, obviously you're talking he's going to miss a substantial amount of time, whether that be the 6 months until he completes the course, or whether that even be the obligatory 4 or 6 game suspension. I feel like that's going to tell a lot in where this defense is going to stand, because as I say, 10.5 sacks isn't, well, it's not like you're replacing Myles Garrett, but at the same time, it's a very, very good number, and we would like to have it there. So with all that being said, Des, I'll let you take this to start, and then I'll pass it over to the brothers. But I mean, what made you get onto this sort of narrative about maybe we trade Pearce Jr. And see how that goes? So I'll let you kind of cut your teeth on that one.
Yeah, I mean, this news, if you're Ian Cunningham, you know, I mean, this news couldn't have come out at a better time, because effectively, I remember saying at the time when all the news came out about what happened, me and Will had a discussion, and I said, from my point of view, I don't really want to discuss this, because you tend to find that a lot of the news that comes out when something's happened, you find out that it tends to be different to what actually has happened. Now, for me, I'm not condoning the situation. It was obviously a bad situation they get into with his ex-girlfriend, the police and everything. But if it was that bad, the police and his ex-girlfriend wouldn't come out and agree to these conditions. Yes. You know what I mean? So effectively, the fake news that came out at that point, the fact that I didn't want to comment on it was probably the best. Now, what I would say is that you've got 6 months to do something. So obviously, if I'm Atlanta, I've probably done my due diligence in Flowery Branch. So I want to know the main person you have to speak to is Arthur Blank, because we know what Arthur Blank is like with issues and controversial characters. For me, I think at some point we need to stop playing pity patty. It's a man's game. These guys are young men with a lot of money. It can go to their head. He's had mental health issues. At some point, something can go wrong. And again, I seen a tweet that said that because he addressed the situation very early after this happened, that was one of the criteria. That was one of the reasons why the judge, the ex-girlfriend, and the police have agreed to this, because he knew what had happened was wrong. So for me, you look and see what the temperature is in Flowery Branch. If Arthur Blank is at a position where he doesn't think there's a way back for James Pearce Jr., then today's draft day, you know what I mean? If you can tell me there's a better edge in this draft than James Pearce Jr., then I'm going to question that, because not one of these edge had 10.5 sacks in the NFL last year. You know what I mean? You look
Yeah,
at you
they
look
might
at
have looked pretty good in college, but that's still college. And as we always say, you could put that Alabama dynasty against a New York Jets or a 0-16 Lions, and we would still see a marked difference in quality between the two sides. So there's definitely a lot to be said, Des, with that.
if I'm Ian Cunningham, I'm hoping at this point they've made a decision that, I mean, I want him back. I want to keep James Pearce Jr. I'm telling you that now, there's not a single guy watching this show that in some point in their life hasn't done something absolutely ridiculously stupid. You know, I mean, we not as bad as that, but we've done stupid things. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're at a point where effectively you look at Nick Saban, and Nick Saban, when he was spoke about with one of the players that had crashed a car or something, and effectively this was in Alabama, and he said everybody was just expecting them to write this guy's life off because he made a mistake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all make mistakes. It's what he does with the mistake that he's made.
Yeah.
One time is a mistake, twice is effectively they don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
It's the old fool me once, fool me twice narrative, isn't it? So I feel like I heard shout out to brother Don from the Unholy Alliance. He made the point earlier of obviously it's the best situation that could occur, and my point was more not yet. It can work out to be the best situation for him, but he has to have the self-control, the motivation, the help, because as I say, we like to put ourselves across as obviously a nice floor for people to come and just obviously shoot the shit as well and get the mental health out there. So I mean, if he's struggling, he needs to open up. And obviously that's part about being a man as well, as you need to know that you've got brothers around you. And so it is here for us on the panel. So we know how it is regardless. We have our pressures. So it's how you deal with that and the shoulders that you trust to obviously put that on as well.
And well, I think the other thing that kind of showed me the scale of the situation was that recently the players in the last month or so, the players were coming out and talking about how they had reached out to James Pearce Jr. and offered support and everything. So effectively that told me that, yeah, it was a terrible situation, but that told me that there was some sort of there was light at the end of the tunnel for James Pearce Jr. And this shows that. But I want him back. If he can do it, if it's 10.5 sacks in his first rookie year, I mean, we all remember training camp when he was fighting with Matthew Bergeron, and he literally lit it up from day one. You know what I mean? He's had his rookie year. I mean, the world is at his feet if he can really turn it on next year. But for me, if it's broke in Flowery Branch and they've got issues with everything that happened, then we trade him. We get something back for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like, as you say, Des, now is the time. If you're going to look to trade, this is it. This is the time to cut your losses and move on. And shout out to the new blood on the panel. But he's another good friend and brother of all things AFN. My namesake. So we've turned it once again into a bit of a willpower hour. How are you, Big Will? Good to have you on with us again, my brother. How you doing?
Well, the thrill was happening, man.
What's happening, man? So yeah, just as I say, chatting shit, getting the fans' appetites whetted ahead of the draft. So I mean, I'll go back a little bit and throw that to you as a kind of double-barreled question, not to overload you to start off, but how do you feel about, firstly, Kyle Pitts being on the trade block potentially, and then obviously if you want to talk a little bit too about how you feel about the James Pearce Jr. situation, and where you feel we'll fall on those, and then we'll pass it back to Ant and Mike and get their thoughts.
Yeah, with the Kyle Pitts situation, every year there's always somebody from the Falcon team on the trade block. They always trying to trade some of our talent, no matter what we got. They don't want us to have talent down here. But I mean, if he end up not being here, I mean, I hoping for a good haul, but I don't want to trade him. I want to see him with a competent a competent offensive coordinator, a competent coach that know how to use him.
Mhm.
Like I try to tell people. I mean, like the years you see when he's featured, he put up numbers.
Uh-huh.
Now years
Yeah.
that they don't throw him the ball, it's hard to put up number when you don't get the ball. You know what I mean? So like this man, we ain't seen tape this man running wide open and the ball ain't coming. Basically, this man out here doing cardio. So if I'm a player, I get tired. I get tired of running routes and they ain't touching the ball. Shit, we seen Julio do it. Julio took himself off the goddamn field. So, but if they choose to trade him, like you heard Ian Cunningham say, they're gonna have to goddamn pretty much knock my draws off. Pretty much, they're gonna have to blow my
Uh-huh.
wad a little bit for me to get rid of Kyle Pitts. So if it happened, it happened. But I hope we get enough in return so we can replace him. But I don't want to see that happen. But as far as
Yeah. Mhm.
once that bail, the amount of bail it was, first thing I told for, hey, bro, they got a deal already in place. And you see it already. I say he ain't already cut that check. He ain't
20,
cut that check.
20,000. I knew it when he saw 20,000. I said, yeah, they definitely got
Bro,
paid.
ain't no way you got all these felony charges or whatnot and your bail
Only
20,000.
20,000.
Ain't no way. So I already knew he cut a check. And
Yeah.
Florida gonna welcome that anyway. Hey, whatever you paying them get to their state, you don't stay here. You don't stay in Florida. Whatever you paying for their state, you throw them a couple million.
Yeah. And I mean, you throw in the controversial things as well. I know I'm not always going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to sometimes have to tell you what you need to hear. But me and Des were talking about this, and there is also the narrative of, okay, this kid's made dollar. He's in the league now. This is
Right.
a young, handsome, muscular, successful black man, and I don't like it. And
Well,
obviously that narrative obviously has its place too. I'm not saying that it
well,
was in any way racially motivated, but it could have just been out of pure jealousy. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So
What a lot of
there's
these folk,
that.
what a lot of these folk fail to realize too, he didn't hit the young lady.
Mm,
There was no reports came out he hit the young lady.
No domestic violence
She then
whatsoever.
said, the
None.
police officer then said he didn't put his hands on her, but he was stalking her and whatever. We heard that on the tape and all that. We heard that.
mm,
But it's also with his first offense. He got no record of him being violent. You know what I'm saying? So
yep.
the police officer already said that. The lawyer, the public, whatever, what's called what they
Prosecutor
called her? The
public.
prosecutor, yeah.
Prosecutor. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
said I mean, it was his first offense. He had no history of violence. So like before we try to throw somebody in the dirt, let's throw the right people in the dirt. You feel what I'm saying? Like the ones that
Yeah,
really
man.
out here doing this. You feel me? He had a lack of judgment, which he agreed to take care of. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
signed up for the courses for the
Mhm.
mental health and everything, and whatever the Florida put out for him, he signed up for it. Now let him get a chance to redeem himself. Now, if he come back and do some bullshit like this again, I ain't got no little law for him. You feel me?
Uh,
But he
Yeah,
should
man.
have a
Fool me once,
chance.
shame
He
on
should
you.
have a
Fool
chance.
me twice, shame on me. You got it. Well,
Right. He
and
should have a chance to redeem himself. But I'm gonna stick to what I
mm,
said. Like I said, I think we go on defensive tackle with that first pick we get. That's what I think we doing. And I'm
well,
sticking.
I
I'm
think
sticking
you're
with
right.
that. If it there, either we go on defensive tackle. If the man ain't there, we gonna fall back. That's what
Mhm.
I'm sticking at.
I think you're right. One of my drafts may trigger you just a little bit because we were talking about one of my guys. One of my mocks, I did take Chris Brazil, which in the second round, which I know you're not high on because of your thoughts about how he's not the most competent route runner. But yeah,
Who you talking about?
I seen that Julio body and I was just like, sold.
You talking about
But
that Tennessee wide receiver?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I,
I'm like I said, I'm not too confident on his route tree because
mm,
if you think about every Tennessee wide receiver that come out that they really don't do good in the NFL because they only know one route. Like I say, when you watch a Tennessee game, how many times you see them and be like, damn, those some slant demons. All they going is on a
mhm.
9 route go route. They spread everybody out to the numbers and everybody go deep. That's what they do. Or they run the ball. So like
It's
that's what I
like the
said.
teams in You see it in
I say
Britain
he
as
just
well.
got to
You get
work on
teams
his
that
route
get the
tree.
track athletes, and they get the track athletes and put them out wide, and it's just like, I know what I'm facing here. Fly, fly, deep post, fly, deep post, fly. It's like, nah, I need to see a little bit more than that. But yeah, and I'll pass it back to Mike now. I mean, I know you've had a lot to say, one way or the other, obviously over the last couple of weeks about the James Pearce Jr. situation. Now that we know kind of a lot better where we stand, how are you feeling? I feel like you share a lot of our narratives in so much as you just want what's best for him right away. And obviously in addition to the team, but yeah, it has to be important that if he does report back to Flowery Branch, that he does so as close to 100% as we can get him. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, I agree. My thing is I said earlier that both Rikia and James Pearce, all parties involved, did the best thing that was for both parties. And just deciding, like, all right, we realize he may have a mental issue. And from a guy that with a ton of people that have had issues with mental health, I think you have to take that into consideration. Like, I mean, my thing is, if it was one of those situations where a guy just crashed out, no history of, I would still have the same. I would still feel the exact same. Everybody do one mistake, maybe two mistakes. But when it becomes a reoccurring theme, that, like, all right, we have to start looking at it. It's like, all right, relax now. Okay, let's get him on my team. But this is one issue from what we understand. Now, I don't know if the NFL may have done anything to hide things in the background. Like, they may have done something. I don't know. But from what I've seen, Rikia agreed, her lawyers agreed, the prosecutor agreed, James' lawyers agreed. Like, all parties agreed that just, look, we'll drop all charges. It seems like you just had a moment. And I think that's where things, especially with a lot of social media and just people involved, like everybody, they just see one crash out and everybody just want to throw the guy. I don't necessarily agree with that. You know, I'll have my opinions, and my opinions are kind of harsh when we first get the news. As everyone's, it's like, all right, not this again. Like, of course, everybody feels that. But at the end of the day, I think everybody deserves a second chance at life. And I'm glad that he got it, to be honest. Because, like, this guy has an opportunity to bring generational wealth to his family and friends. I wish the best for anybody that has that opportunity. You know, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. You talk about mental health issues now when you screwed up and you sitting back and you 40, 50 years old and you saying to yourself, I had an opportunity at $100 million check and I screwed it up because I didn't want to do the right thing. Like, that'll send you to mental health. That'll send you off the wall. So I'm glad to getting another opportunity.
Yeah, and one thing I would say to your credit, Mike, is don't ever apologize for the way that you put that across, because this is, like, I feel like I can speak for Des too, but this is why we keep giving you the floor as well. Is, yeah, it's controversial, and yeah, it's sometimes heated and people aren't going to agree, but that's the beauty of it. We don't have to agree, but you make good points every time, and things that I feel like a lot of fans don't always think about. So shout out to my brother in the bottom left for again keeping us on our toes as well. So yeah, and then shout out to the chat as well. A great comment there from Kelvin: 10.5 sacks, and he's not even in his prime to control himself. Then there's every possibility that he could reset the market. Hopefully we'll have to see that. I just, as we say, the biggest hope's got to be that he comes back ready to go. Is kind of my thoughts on that one, Kelvin. And then shout out to a couple of the OGs. Yeah. We've got John Boy down in the chat. Good to see you as always. I tip my cap to you, brother. And then we've got Jay back as well. Hello, Scottish Falcons. Drink a Guinness for JPJ getting a second chance and chase it down with a Jaeger. I like Guinness, but
Yeah,
it's
Guinness is Irish, so it's a whiskey.
Hey,
like you would have been slightly closer by probably offering a Nuki Brun, as we would call it, a Newcastle brown ale, just over the border there. And as I say, shout out to the boys down south, because if we come down to see you all, you better have me a Nuki Brun ready to go. I'll say that much.
I might drink one today.
John's
I
asking
might drink one today. I'm not a drinker, y'all. So I might drink one today.
He is not.
Well, I told you, brother, it's a little deal that we've got going. You're not a drinker, I'm not a cigar smoker, but when I come to the A, I'll buy you a whiskey, you buy me a cigar.
I have Modelo. Will I actually have Modelo? That's actually what I have. So.
Mike, I'm even stranger. I'm a teetotaler and I'm a Scot. You know what I mean? I get pelted in the streets with tomatoes because they think I'm a freak because I'm Scottish and I don't drink.
You ain't fooling nobody. You got look in that tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tested one time and they withdrew it. Wait a minute, the alcohol content 0. You're sick.
They talk about me when I'm walking down the street. They point to me. There's that teetotaler. Look, there's that teetotaler. There's that freak. Look, stay away from him.
The one guy in Airdrie whose breath doesn't smell of Budweiser.
The one.
Oh, jeez. Like as we say, like I know it's bad to joke about, but you know it's gotten to a stage when you're the only country in the world that needs your alcohol licensed by time. Like, it's over after that.
We definitely haven't gotten to that. Good job. I think we should, but that's just.
Well, people talk about social drinking. I think in Scotland they're more a fan of anti-social drinking sometimes. But there you go.
I've said before, Will, the difference between the UK and America is that when you go out in America, Americans, it's all about how much they can eat and getting a good feast.
Yeah.
In the UK, it's all about how much they can drink and effectively, like we say paralytic, as in they're paralytic, they can't walk. So that's a big difference. In America, it's all about food. In the UK, it's all about drink.
And it's handy when you're friends with some linemen, because if you're out on a team night out, you can always say to one of your guards or tackles, "Look, can you hod me up till we get to the next stopping point?" Well, as I say, like as a 170-pound man, your capacity for alcohol is not quite what that of a 300-pounder would be. You know what I'm saying? So. But we digress nevertheless. I'm going to pass it back to the boys because we've got ours ready to go a couple of iterations each. But I know it was a little impromptu to the guys who are guesting tonight. But we'll start at the bottom, work our way up. So Will or Mike, whoever wants to take this first. Have you got a most recent mock you want to talk about, or have you got even certain guys that you feel like have to be on the Falcons shortlist, so to speak?
Well, you already know what I've been talking about. If Christian Miller's in there, you guys go get him. You better run to the podium.
Mm-hmm.
Throw that card like a frisbee up there. Don't come back. Get it up there now. Like, but if he's not there, there's a couple more good defensive tackles up there. You know, the dude from Florida State. I like him.
Caleb Banks.
Yeah, Caleb.
Yeah,
I like. And I like
got a
Xavier.
foot injury though.
Yeah, repair bone or something in his left ankle.
I like Xavier Harris from Ole Miss, but you can get him later, so you can fall back in the draft if you want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's a couple of them up there, but I see them like you got to think about the tea leaves he throw out there. When he came did a press conference, he say they deep in DN and then wide receivers, they deep in this draft. And he said defensive tackles and running back not so deep. So you got to look at some of the tea leaves right there, kind of telling you what he's willing to wait on. He's willing to wait on the DN and wide receiver.
If he gonna jump up there to get him a defensive tackle if it's there. Not jump, but if it's there without 48 pick, he gonna go get him.
Yeah.
But I can see us getting more picks. I don't think we're just sticking at 5. I think we're gonna get a couple more. We ain't getting 10, but I think we get a couple more.
I'll go on to show you guys. I mean, I walked out of one mock with 9 picks and the other with 10. I feel like with one, I've tried to do sort of best player available, best fit, and to stack up. The other one was more about value, depth, competition, and things of that nature. So I feel like, yeah, that's definitely the strategy I've tried to embody in my mocks, and that's something I'll get into in just a little bit.
Well, can I just go on to what
yeah, sure.
what Will was saying about Caleb Banks with the foot injury?
Yeah,
I think the way I look at it is, I think Ian Cunningham, because he's not got a first round pick, he's looking to try and get a first round pick without having a first round pick. And what I mean is, there's a potential where we draft somebody who has had injury concerns this year.
Yeah.
Who without them would potentially be a first round pick, because we're so low and we're at 48. And I think Caleb Banks, where the uncertainty with the foot injury, I think that comes into a situation where a few of the teams are going to back away from him and go for another DT because of the injury, where hopefully that will benefit us. I mean, I don't think any of the guys disagree. We need a DT. We need a nose tackle. We need a big bodied defensive player in that defense to effectively stop the run.
And I feel like, as Will says, there is a drop off. For me, there's 5 guys. It's Hunter, Banks, in no particular order, Woods, Jackson Jr., and you know the 5. We've been saying about them, but I feel like then there's a drop off, and then you get guys like the kid from southeastern Louisiana, Kalen Proctor, or you're talking about Dominique Orange, guys like that. So there is depth, but I see also a noticeable drop off there as well.
What I would say as well is, I would love Zachariah Branch, wide receiver out of Georgia, but as it was said earlier, the wide receivers are so deep. I don't think they're going to try. I think they're going to wait to maybe a later round to grab a wide receiver. I think they're looking for it's. As I said, I think the strategy is going to change. I think we're not going to be going for the Drake London type of wide receiver. I think we're wanting a yard after catch kind of guy. You know what I mean? Somebody who's got speed. I mean, Drake London's fast enough, but he's not the fastest wide receiver in the world.
Yeah.
No.
And we need that yak wide receiver. So and I think, again, what you tend to find in the NFL in this draft, the smaller the player wide receiver wise, the quicker he is, because he needs to make up for the lack of height. And there's plenty of them in the 3rd, 4th, and further down the round. So although I would love is to grab Zachariah Branch maybe 2nd or 3rd round, wherever he falls, I think we'll probably hold off until the later rounds to grab a wide receiver.
Yeah, I think I could see that too. It's something that I did, as I say, in one mock I've done it right off the bat with Chris Brazil. Second time around, I've waited a little bit, but I managed to grab John Michael Sturdivant from Florida with a second to last pick in the whole draft. So I mean, receivers one of those positional groups that's definitely stacked full of value this year. And I feel like I've said before, guys, where the Falcons can really hit on this draft is not the unforeseen commodities, because obviously every team's done their diligence, but more the little nagging injuries, the tiny character concerns like you had with Zach Branch, although that was a shambles as well. But we won't get into that.
So, well, can I just say, when we were talking about James Pearce Jr. at $20,000, Zachariah Branch's bail was $35.
$39. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo!
That's ridiculous.
He's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. $35.
They arrested that man for not moving off a walkway.
Ridiculous.
Like, yeah, you could bribe him. You could literally bribe that off with a Domino's. It is like, come on, what are we doing here? Like, it's pretty insane. And then, Mike, I don't know if you had a mock draft there, or if you wanted to just talk about some of your guys as well. I know you've been kind of jumping around doing a lot of things recently. So how are you feeling about some of your kind of musts? We'll throw the word must out there. So if there's certain guys you feel like we must have, who would that be?
Well, I think this guy be good in this system. Georgia fans not gonna like me saying this, but Jake Slaughter, I think him at center, guy that's 6'4", lean. He can get to that second level. We're going to be running a lot of outside zone running scheme, inside zone running scheme. So I think he fits. For one, Brian Callahan is one of those guys that's like, he likes his offensive lineman. He like big guys. And this dude is 6'4". He can get to the second level easily. He's very athletic at guard. So I think, with Ryan Nuzul, I don't know if he's going to be the starter for the foreseeable future. But I do like Jay Slaughter. He's very good in the running game. And I think, at some point in time, you have to start building the offensive line, because we don't know if we're going to re-sign Matthew Bergeron. I would love to sign him. We have to, at some point in time, think about what's going to be good for the center position, the right guard, the right tackle, left tackle. So I think we have to focus on the offensive line at some point, especially with Bijan Robinson at the helm. And we got to run the ball, man. It's like I said, I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan, but I'm a football fan at heart first. And I think everything starts with running the football. You can't run the football, you're not going to win many games, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right. It's such a quintessential part of the game, and I feel like that's where we shot ourselves in the foot last season with Raheem Morris, basically telling you that number 7 is how the game runs. Not that you didn't already know that from watching film, but at the same time, that this is a team and a league at this point that's based on your ability to run the ball and your ability to stop your opponents from doing the same. So yeah, I feel like the running game is there, but we need the bodies to do so, and that's why, as I say, when I'm talking about O-line, you'll see I've taken Jake Slaughter in one of mine, and then in another I've taken Travis Burke, and there was another guy I took. I think his name's Logan Thomas, who is a guard out of Boston College, 6'7", 315, so tackle flexible as well. And then obviously, our pedigree with O-linemen out of Boston College, so or even players from Boston College, because that was Matty Ice's alma mater too. So and
one of the players that I took in my mock was Austin Barber, the left tackle out of Florida, again 6'7". At some point, we need to effectively deal with the elephant in the room with Jake Matthews' age. He's getting to a point, and you have to go back to what Ian Cunningham said in his first presser, all about effectively taking care of the trenches. So I think when we look back on historic drafts, with Arthur Smith, it was all offense. With Raheem Morris, it was all defense. I think there's a possibility that with Ian Cunningham, it's all trenches, it's all OT, it's all offensive tackles or offensive linemen and defensive tackles. There's a potential we could effectively just deal with the trenches. So, but I thought Austin Barber, I thought size wise. And again, the centre, I don't think Ryan Nuzul is going to be our future centre.
I'd agree with that, and I feel like long term, Jake Slaughter's definitely the better option. And an interesting question from John, and I feel like it's something that surprises me that it doesn't happen more is these in-state pipelines. You know the ability and the caliber of a player that comes out of a Georgia Bulldogs. There's a reason why you see like 5 or 6 schools being put across as these are the ones that you need to watch year in, year out. And you know who they are as well as I do. The Michigans, the Ohio States, Texas, Bama, Georgia, USC, depending on positions and things. Notre Dame, yeah. So there's like maybe 8 to 10 teams tops that you say are in that mix where you're like, no, if he's there, I'm at least giving him a look. It surprises me more, John, that in-state relationship between the college and the pros doesn't exist more often. If anything, there's a pipeline in Philly for Georgia Bulldogs players. We've seen that kind of play out over the last few years as well. And then obviously before we get into the bulk of our drafts, I'll let Big Ant take it on as well. Now, I'm assuming that you're going to want someone built much like your good self there. You're going to want a run stuffer, a true nose.
Oh yes. Look, if it just so happens that Lee Hunter falls to 48, you run. Look, sprint. But if not, trade back. Get some more picks because this draft is so deep. It's not as top heavy as other drafts have been in the trenches, but it is deep with talent.
Yeah,
and you can find somebody in the second and later on in the third, or whatever. You can find somebody, a diamond in the rough, that can help you out. And we need depth. That's what we need most.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of why I've tried to get as many picks as possible. Yeah, in one scenario, I did give up 3 from next year, but we have a stack of picks next year, so I felt like I was able to shore up some of the positions where we maybe need it. But I mean, you guys seen it in the group chat, but I'll drop it down. I'll do my 2 first, and then I can let Des kind of cover yours. So what I've got here, the top rows didn't snap right, but this got a B-, which in my opinion was pretty criminal because some of the picks were a lot better than that in my eyes. But here's my third mock when it comes up. So as I say, I started off with Chris Brazil there, the wide receiver out of Tennessee. I then decided to go defensive back with Traden Stooks out of Arizona.
Okay.
Because I hadn't went true nose, and then maybe you could have said I could have taken a better D tackle, but I went Caleb Proctor. Okay. I then doubled down because Ephesians Pryzok slid. So I was like, corners and flexibility, I'm going to take that. That's another 6'4" body that you can have as a box safety too. I then went with Travis Burke, 6'9" tackle out of the University of Memphis. A bit of linebacker depth with Harold Perkins Jr. out of LSU. As I say, then I took Logan Taylor, the 6'7" guard from Boston College, and finished out with Florida Gator wide receiver John Michael Sturdivant. So as I say, 2 receivers, 2 corners. I was quite happy with that class. I feel like B- was maybe a little bit too short. And then here would be my mock draft 4. Now they've only given me a C, but in some ways I'm sure you can say that in terms of prospect, in terms of project, and in terms of ceiling, this may be even better. So I started off with Darrell Jackson Jr. from Florida State. Followed that up with the other Washington DB, so that being Takario Davis. Then a double. As you see, I kind of fleeced the Packers on this one because within 2 picks, I got Kevin Coleman Jr. out of Missouri, followed by Dion Burks out of Oklahoma. So a good sort of receiver tandem there. Followed that up with your boy Mike, Jake Slaughter, someone I've been high on this whole process. And then Jordan Vanderberg, who is the standout D tackle from the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I did have to still kind of bring in someone to compete. And I decided that 6'7", with the size of hands that he has and his mobility and leverage. I've went with Alex Wolfschlager out of the University of Kentucky, and then pure project and pure athletic upside. Just the rarity of size that Eric Gentry brings, being 6'7", 221, and playing backer. As I say, if you want to make him a true edge, then feed that boy a few cheeseburgers. But again, I feel like I've been undershot there by them only giving me a C. So I'm going to put that back out to the panel and say, how do you...
Oh, he's gone. Gone. I think, I mean, looking at that as an overall draft grade C, I think that's quite tough. I mean, just Jake Slaughter, just for his name, you know what I mean? I mean, you get some of the players that they've got these crazy names. That just, I mean, Jake Slaughter alone is a centre is just a great name. You know what I mean? You back, mate?
Yeah, I'm back. So I think I managed to close that out. Or obviously, you've seen the guys, and obviously my point to Eric Gentry is there's not too often at all that you see a linebacker listed 6'7". That length is insane. If you're talking about a boundary edge or an overhang guy. So what I'll do is I'll pass it back to you boys, and you can kind of have a little bit of a chat, see how you guys feel. But I feel like the value one, which was the second one I done there, was good. I loved the double dip at receiver. That was pretty nasty, if I do say so myself. But I can't argue. The only downside to my first draft class there was I could have got slightly better at D tackle. That would be my only thing. But I think generally speaking, I prefer the first class there. How do you guys feel? I'm just gonna throw it out to you and see how you feel. Is there either of those classes that you think, yeah, that's not bad? I could work with that.
I mean, I think from me, the way I look at this draft is that if there's going to be a draft that you don't have a number, a first round pick, this is a draft, because there's not a lot of it's stacked high, but even after your 10th pick, it falls off a bit. I think from my point of view, probably the biggest downside is if you wanted to have extra 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks, this was a draft that you wanted to have the extra picks because the draft is so deep.
Yeah.
What I would say is, I think Mike had said about effectively, if you get to 48, from my point of view, unless one of the big nose tackles are sitting, yeah, you draft back, try and get a third and a fifth out it. You know what I mean?
And that was what I did in mock 4. I mean, people may come for that and say 13 picks down is a lot, but I got 3 picks back from the Rams in exchange for that. So I was able to shore up, and at 61, I was still able to get Darrell Jackson, who, as I said to you, he's probably number 4 on my list of, if you're getting those, that's the one to get. So I don't think he's sprint to the podium the way I would be for a Lee Hunter or a Kristen Miller. But let's keep it a buck. I'm not going to turn them down either, for sure.
Well, you can have a look at my mock, because I think in one of my mocks, I get Lee Hunter at number 78.
Mm-hmm.
Which just
talk about a fall.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a huge fall.
Again, that's the problem with the mock drafts. With my mock drafts, I didn't do any trades because you just don't know what's going to happen. So, but I think one of mine, I had Lee Hunter at 78, which, I mean, if we get that, that's. I mean, I hope, if I pray for anything, I pray that everything falls the way it fell last year, because every player that we got was just a phenomenal. I mean, like Xavier Watts in the 3rd round was just ridiculous. You know what I mean? So
4th round.
What's that? Sorry,
you say 4th round?
No, 3rd round.
Oh, I was like, I don't know how they. Yeah. I mean, My thing is in drafts, I always look for size with the athleticism. And I think what was the last pick with the edge? You get a guy like 6'5", what he's like 240. It kind of reminds me of the Max Crosby. Like you get those guys and you teach those guys how to play NFL football with the fundamentals and things of that nature. The size would eventually kind of catch you up at some point. Just depending on the player, but like that's why I like the bottom of the draft. I always look for size and my defenders and edge guys, and that's essentially it, because you get guys like Grady Jarrett, who snuck around in the 5th round. Like, no, he's not the biggest guy, but the athleticism. So anytime at the bottom of the draft, you can find guys that are incredible athletes. I think you should take them. The incredible athletes always find a way, even if there's a because the thing with Max Crosby, I believe it was injuries, if I'm not mistaken, in college that were kind of holding him back a bit. But the athleticism was there, the size is there. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's fell off again. And Big Ant, what do you think? Is he there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. You back, Will?
Mm-hmm.
I am indeed. Yeah. Just basically taking tonight as it comes, but now that we've got the mock drafts out and the Yard is still intent on not letting us have any fun tonight, what I will do before we close out is I will basically open it up to the panel again. So we will be back later on tonight. So shout out to the guys from the Georgia Sports Nation, and of course any chance to give kudos to Miss Bravos. She's going to be back on with House of the Chop at 6 p.m. Eastern. So you want to go show some love, show some support to the good brothers and sisters over there, because they're going to be taking you into the chop shop on those Braves. And then, as I say, you're going to want to double back, because after much due diligence, the boys are pulling a late one, and we will be hosting. So
we are.
So to show the love back to the boys, obviously, if you want to join us again, sort of 20 to 1 our side, 20 to 8 your side, yeah, just let me know and I will do the same and drop the link again, because this has been fun, and hopefully the good old Scottish weather isn't kicking my ass quite so much, and we can actually have a decent conversation. So yeah, I mean, guys down in the chat, if you do have any questions, now's the time to drop them, or any kind of last minute statements. Come have your say. But we'll pass it round and let all the guys kind of let you know where to find them in the meantime, if you don't already know by now, which, come on, you really should. But we'll let the nose, if like, as I said, there's been so much nose tackle talk, we'll let the nose tackle start you off. So Big Ant, where can the people get at you if they want to keep this thing going?
Well, of course, you can find me on Mr. White's Network and on Culture Unchained on Saturdays morning. Y'all stay tuned. Hey, do not get in your feelings when something doesn't happen that you want. So anything can happen in the draft. We have seen everything happen on the draft day. So keep your minds open.
All right, so yeah, you can find me. Will is going to join us for the wrestling takes. We're going to have that coming a lot more soon, so we're getting acclimated to that. On the wrestling mic as well as Mad Mike Sports, we got a lot of stuff going on. Shell Bravos, aka Mrs. K Styles, right along with Sonya of Georgia Sports Nation. We're going to be doing some brave stuff and kind of get those ladies and gentlemen over there a lot more eyes and ears over there. And Sam, they're absolutely wonderful. When I tell you they are knowledgeable women, they are freaking knowledgeable. And I love them to death. So Find Georgia Sports Nation. Y'all already know where to find me at Mad Mike Sports, man. Well, more than welcome to every type of conversation. We're not just Falcons fans. We're sports fans, okay? So,
hell yeah.
Guys love UFC. Believe it or not, I watch UFC. I don't know about everybody else, but I love to fight. I love watching fighting.
Mike likes to fight.
Yeah, just a little bit. All right, just a little bit. Auntie Pam, how you doing?
How you doing, Auntie Pam? Pass it round to your ladybirds as well. We got an open panel tonight, showing love all round the. So I mean, if you want to get on, we're going from around about 20 to 8 as I just let the boys know. So you ain't nearly seen the last of us tonight. Des, do you want to throw in any closing thoughts before we close things out for at least for now?
Yeah, I can't wait to watch the Raiders draft Jeremiah Love and watch the whole place crash. You know what I mean?
It'll be nice to not be the team that people are going like, you took a running back so high. It's like, well, we're not the only team to do it. We just seen Ashton Jeanty. Things happen.
I mean, the Raiders are going to Raider. You know what I mean? That's the one thing. So, I mean, I've obviously got work, so the draft starts at 1:00 my time early morning. So I'll hopefully, and I know you're on the show while you're doing the show, if you can get other guys on, I'll just watch it from the sideline. But if there's nobody else on, then I'm going to pop on with you and start the show with the draft. So but I mean, what I would say is I love the Bijan situation where effectively we draft Bijan at number 8 and the whole internet just collapses and goes on fire because we've drafted a running back at number 8. And then effectively every other year we've got one at 5 and we've got a possibility one at either 3, 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it just goes to show what one player, and you obviously have to give Saquon his judge, you know what I mean? But I think Bijan is the player that kind of lit it up for the running backs in this league. Hence why so many of these running backs now are getting drafted so high, or possibly getting drafted so high. But I always love draft, but it feels a wee bit. It feels a wee bit different this year because we don't have a first round pick. So, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, all we can do, like as I said earlier on in the group chats, like as much as I want to say put your feet up and enjoy, we cannot say with any kind of surety whatsoever that there's not going to be any shenanigans from that backroom staff tonight. So we are prepared. We're here for anything. But yeah, as I say, so join us live at 12:40 for our UK brothers and sisters, or the people stateside. You are talking about 20 to 8 Eastern time. That would be 20 to 5 out on the West Coast as well. So be sure to join us for that. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, just remember that Mike and Big Will, T Will, Des and I, we love our ATL. We wish you good night until we come back on in just a few hours. And never, ever forget, especially because it is draft day, that pain is international, but so is passion and also stress. So much love to my boys for coming on with us as always. And as I say, there's always a space if you want it. So we will catch up with y'all in just a couple of hours. Appreciate the love and support as always, and we will see you very, very soon. Deuces.
Peace guys. Peace.